Elizabeth, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks, Johnny. So happy to be here again with you.
Yeah, it's been about a year since we did this.
Oh, has it? Okay.
Yeah,
Feels like yesterday.
but we've reached, it feels like it's game time now for California elections.
Yes,
And it also feels like sort of last chance saloon for California and for Los Angeles.
it does.
So I wonder if you could spell out, we have two election days coming up. One is in June, one is in November. I'm kind of shocked that people aren't, there isn't a sense of awareness about important dates that are coming up and what people
Never.
have to do. But can we start with the gubernatorial race
Sure.
in California? Like, who are the key candidates? We've got Steve Hilton and Bianco. President Trump just endorsed Steve Hilton, and so did you.
Yes.
So, what does that field of candidates look like, and what's happening in June? Like, how does this work, basically?
Okay, so let's first go to the calendar. Okay, so in about 3 weeks, everyone in California is going to receive their mail ballot, and they are due by June 2nd. And what we are starting to message to the voters is that it's really important to vote early as soon as you get your ballot, even if that means voting by mail, which especially voters on the right are really resistant to doing. They prefer to vote in person, but I've made a 10-point argument about why that actually is counterproductive to winning in a deep blue state, or at the disadvantages that we have in California as Republicans. So that's first. So the first important date comes in about 3 weeks when we get our ballots.
And vote by mail. Like, just
And
do
vote
it.
and just do it. Just vote by mail, because in order to achieve the too big to rig result, the mail ballots have to start coming in early, because that's what drives the energy through the rest of the 30 days. If you start late, then you're late. And the Democrats have a head start that we can never catch up to if we are not voting from day one. So that's first of all. The second thing about the May-June election, as I like to call it, is that there's two parts to it. There are the partisan races and the nonpartisan races. So let's talk about the nonpartisan races first. In a nonpartisan race in California, anybody can run. You can have a huge field of candidates, or you can have only two candidates, or you can have one candidate. It doesn't matter. But if it's a nonpartisan race, whoever gets 50% plus, so whoever wins the simple majority, wins the race outright. And there is no runoff election in November. So this applies to everything in the county level, everything at the city level. So your mayor, city council, school board, if that's on the ballot, all of that can be decided by June 2nd if nobody, if one of them gets a majority. So that's why the mayor's race in Los Angeles, voting by June 2nd is very important, because we could get a situation where one of the bad candidates, Mayor Bass running for re-election after her failed tenure, or Nitya Raman, who would be a Mamdani 2.0 in Los Angeles, if they got more than 50%, then they win, and there's no chance for us to fix that in November. So that's the nonpartisan races. In the partisan races, it's more like a primary, where they are running to qualify for the ballot basically in November. But it's not a traditional primary like other states have. In California, we have what's called a jungle primary or an open primary, which means that any voter can vote for any candidate regardless of party affiliation. So that's what an open primary means. And a jungle primary means it's the top two vote getters go to November, which means that you could have two Democrats running against each other or two Republicans running against each other. It's not necessarily Democrat versus Republican going into November like it is in some other places. So again, the turnout is critical, especially for Republicans who want to see a candidate of theirs on the ballot. And our challenge, and it's actually a challenge for both sides right now, is that we're divided. And the only reason that it's okay to be divided is because the other side is also divided. So whoever coalesces around a single candidate first is going to have a major advantage, because then their candidate will kind of vault ahead. And that's what we've seen for Steve Hilton. He's been in the number one spot pretty consistently in almost all polling this whole time. And so he's been looking to break out and differentiate himself from Sheriff Chad Bianco, who is the other leading candidate on the Republican side, and he's done that in a couple of ways. He's attacked he's attacked Bianco. He's his campaign with the golden ticket is another way that he's tried to differentiate himself. But really, what we were waiting for was the convention this just past weekend. We were waiting for that, but also nobody expected President Trump's endorsement right before it came the Sunday before the convention. So all of those things are kind of differentiating him, and he is rising, especially after what happened with Eric Swalwell.
And is there not a scenario in which Bianco and Steve Hilton could go 1 and 2 and we'd be locked in for a Republican governor? Or is that not likely to happen?
There is a lot of debate about the likelihood of that happening. I think, given all that we know about Democrat strategic operations, I think that is a fantasy, that is an unreasonable expectation to give to voters. But that said, it is possible, because the Democrats remain so divided. The chair of the Democrat Party in California has called over and over again for them to consolidate behind the higher polling candidates, for the lower polling candidates who know that there's no path to victory, for them to drop out so that their voters can, go elsewhere. And so, but they're not listening. They're not doing that. And now we've passed the deadline where you can remove your name from the ballot. So now everybody's name is still going to be on the ballot, including Swalwell. So it is possible.
Wow. So we've got Hilton, Bianco. Just quickly, why did you endorse Steve Hilton, and why did President Trump do that? And is that actually, with California voters, is that a good thing? I know it's good for the party, but is it good overall for floating voters?
Okay, so great question. Okay, so you asked 3 questions. I'm trying to answer all of them. No, it's okay. You may need to remind me. Okay, so the first question is, why did I endorse Hilton and not Bianco? So like a lot of voters in California, I like both of them. Like a lot of Republican voters, I like both of them. And I really struggled with the decision. And normally, I have a very easy time with a decision about who I'm going to endorse, because there are so many differentiating factors. But in this case, there wasn't. Their polling was almost neck and neck. The money that they're raising is pretty close. I like both of them and know them personally. I think that both of them have embraced President Trump. That's changed a little bit since the endorsement, and I'll explain that in a second. And so they were all checking off my boxes. And so I had a really hard time. But a few things changed. The first is, like I said, this team attitude that I find is coming across from Steve Hilton's campaign and not from Chad Bianco's campaign. And there was a couple of things that happened that reinforced that for me. And one is, again, putting together this golden ticket, where, and if your listeners don't know what that is, basically in California, all the statewide races are separate elections. It's not like, for example, for president, the president runs and he picks his running mate for vice president, and then they go on the ticket together. You don't vote that way, right? Like, the president picks his own slate. In California, everybody runs separately. But what Hilton did is he put together 4 other statewide offices, and basically they show up at events together. They're running together on what's called the golden ticket. And I liked the other candidates that he picked, and I liked the idea of running as a team. and they all bring something important to the table. And whenever Hilton gets out, he like speaks about all of them and promotes them too. I think that's very interesting. It's a new idea that I've never seen before in California, and I think it's great. The other thing that Hilton has done that Chad has not, that Sheriff Bianco has not done, is Steve Hilton has committed to, if Bianco wins the primary and Hilton doesn't make it, Steve Hilton has committed to endorsing and supporting and helping Sheriff Bianco win. And a reciprocal commitment was not made despite the opportunity. I didn't like that. I think the reasons that Sheriff Bianco did that are personal, and I don't think that that's in the best interest of California. I think that's putting yourself before the state. Mm-hmm. And then, so that's the first things that happened. The second thing is there was kind of in the beginning, Sheriff Bianco wasn't participating in a lot of debates or forums, and Steve Hilton was. And that happened again yesterday, by the way, where there was a Hispanic forum. It was bipartisan, and Hilton was there and Bianco wasn't. Same thing happened when a bunch of Jewish organizations put together a candidate forum. I'm chair of Jewish community engagement for the State Party of California. So as soon as that event was announced, I told both campaigns about it. I made sure that they knew about it immediately. I made sure that they were invited because both of them obviously qualified for it. And Hilton showed up and Bianco did not. And not only that, but I participated in, helping Steve Hilton prepare for that forum. And I was impressed by his commitment and enthusiasm and engagement in the issues that I knew that were going to be brought up at that forum that are important to, Jewish parents like me whose kids are facing discrimination, or, it's not just about a foreign affairs, about Israel. There's also anti-Semitism happening here, which is an issue for public safety and education, which are my two, main issues as part of my brand. And again, Steve Hilton performed very well there. And then he also, both candidates applied for endorsement from a bipartisan organization that I'm working with to help get Republican candidates endorsed by a pro-Israel branded organization. It's called Israeli American Civic Action Network, ICANN. Both candidates applied for endorsement, and Steve Hilton was endorsed by them. So again, this is like a bunch of things in my wheelhouse of issues that I care about that keep weighing in favor of the Hilton side. Even though I do like Bianco very much, and I'm sure his answers were fine, it seems that Hilton is better. And then the thing that really tipped the scales for me was President Trump's endorsement. Now, I am unapologetically supportive of President Trump and his agenda, both foreign and domestic. I am grateful that he's bringing attention to California and Los Angeles. Los Angeles was one of the first places he came to after inauguration. So I thought that it was very important for me in my my values to stand behind both ICANN and President Trump's endorsements, which came like pretty close together. And then what also ended up happening, which is really blowing my mind, it's like a huge shift in California on the Republican side, is that Sheriff Bianco's supporters started attacking President Trump and basically turning their backs on him. And it's not only the endorsement that's happening, it's also the war in Iran, it's also Israel. The people who are against those aspects of President Trump's agenda, I notice, are all on the Bianco camp. And the other thing, last thing...
an opportunistic maneuver?
By who?
By Bianco, like the going against. It seems like you can make hay politically by going against Trump. and American foreign policy.
I think he does try to stay out of foreign policy issues. I do think, again, that he, up until that point, has embraced President Trump. But there's no way that you can campaign without addressing the endorsement, not being the endorsed candidate, without being, critical or without being, and that's what his supporters did. Forget about, Bianco in his first statement about it said this is not a coronation, like that. Those are hits at President Trump. And I personally, when I choose to endorse a candidate, if there's two choices, one is embraced by President Trump and it's reciprocal, and the other is not, I'm going with President Trump every single time. And I'm not apologetic about that. And nobody is surprised to see me do that. And the last thing that I think is actually really important, and it's come up when you and I have talked about this race as well, the language that is coming out of Sheriff Bianco's campaign and his supporters is very anti-naturalized citizen. And I don't like that. I think that first of all, whether you're a natural born or a naturalized citizen, you're an American, and that we do not start discriminating against each other on that basis. You discriminate based on their ideas and their positions. And from what I've seen from Steve Hilton is that he learned a lot of stuff from when he was in the UK that pushed him to come to America and embrace the freedoms that we have here. And in a lot of ways, I think that his status as an immigrant who believes in legal immigration and is so strong on, supporting President Trump's immigration policy, not the case, by the way, when Bianco talks about it, is a good thing. I think he's a good messenger for that, especially in California, where we have a huge immigrant population, and not somebody who's getting up and saying, I've been here my whole life, which he has not been here his whole life. Sheriff Bianco is from Utah. So when he says, I've been here my whole life, or I'm from here, he's dog whistling to the America First wing of the right, who say, and I see it in my comments every day, we don't want a foreigner. And they're the same people that say we don't want a Jew supporter when they talk about Hilton.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing.
As far as naturalized citizens go and elections, my view on this, because of what's happened on the left, is that, and this isn't Steve Hilton being an exception to this, I don't think people should hold public office, but I've kind of I've subjugated that view for this election because I think he's the best candidate. And I think it's low to do that now. It's like an immaterial, it's a matter of fact now. So it's sort of a low, it's just a low blow. It's incoherent to attack from that place. What about the Democrat sides? We've got Hilton, Bianco. Your view is like everyone should get behind Hilton so that he gets through to, the November round, and we don't risk, it's possible that it could be Bianco and Hilton, but we could also risk wiping both of them out.
Correct. I think that's more likely than two in the top two.
Than two Republicans.
Yes.
Uh-huh. What about, it seems like Katie Porter and Tom Steyer are the two front runners.
Shocking.
On the Democratic side. Katie Porter seems to me like she's just like a monster.
Yeah.
I saw that video of her, the interview that she did, and she just comes off as like a borderline personality disordered monster that should not be anywhere near public office, much less governor of California. And then Tom Steyer, I know less about, but appears to be this sort of like bonkers Al Gore type person who's like, it's like as if it's 15 years ago and he's railing about climate change, and it's just sort of is kind of incoherent. So what does the Democratic side look like, and what is going on after this? Like, Swalwell got knifed, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So, Swalwell was the establishment preferred frontrunner. He was getting the endorsements by the largest unions in the state, which is SEIU, those are the Service Workers Union, and the California Teachers Association, which is the teachers union.
And the teachers is like, that's the coronation,
yes,
basically.
Yes,
yeah.
both of them. SEIU is bigger, but I think the teachers are, like, if they're on your side, you're in a pretty strong position. That's the get, right? So Swalwell got those, and he was also bringing in a lot of money, and he was also pretty consistently in the polls, like, at the top. We also know now that he was pretty easy to control because he was using basically campaign money to finance his lifestyle, which I guess is allowed, but like all his Ubers, all his food, his meals, his kids' school tuition, and their childcare, and all his travel, and then besides that, there were people who were kind of entertaining him, on the side, to have a good relationship with him, letting him stay in their mansion in Beverly Hills, like that kind of thing. So he was getting a lot of perks that was basically he became dependent upon to live. And then now we know there's also all this blackmail out there on him. And so he would have done anything to keep it from coming out. And it got to the point where he couldn't and nobody could save him. That's what we saw over the weekend when everything blew up.
But what was the reason? Was his polling just wasn't there? And
no, he was the front runner.
So why did he get wiped out?
But I think we don't know exactly what happened. My theory, I'm sure it will come out one day. My theory is that a lower polling candidate or people who were supporting lower polling candidates knew that if this information came out after the primary, we would have a Republican governor in California, no questions asked. So they knew it needed to come out before the primary, and the question was, could they keep it a secret forever or not? And it got to a point where they knew that they couldn't keep it a secret anymore and that it was going to come out, and so it had to come out now. That's what I think happened. I think the women got coordinated by very smart people who actually, I think, do care about both things. They do care about women's rights. They do care that a predator is not going to win the governor's race and for him to continue victimizing other women, allegedly. Both things can be true. So I think that's what happened. And then because they were coordinated, they found safety in numbers that they could all come out together. And I bet a lot of the women thought that it only happened to them, that they were alone. And when you learn that you're not alone, you realize it was not your fault, because women also tell themselves a story that it was their fault. They put themselves in that position, whatever. And so I think all those things together, it just, boom.
Yeah. And who is Katie Porter and who is Tom Steyer?
Okay. Sorry. Oh, we didn't get to that. Okay, so Katie Porter is a former congresswoman from Orange County. She flipped a seat red. She flipped a red seat blue. And she is not well liked at all. And then she resigned from Congress in order to run for Senate in 2022. I'm going to get the years mixed up, but she ran for Senate. And so that took her out of California politics. Actually, maybe it was 24. Now it was 2024. She ran for Senate. What's interesting in that race to compare to now what's happening in the governor's race, they were both statewide races. There were multiple candidates on the Democrat side who split the vote. So that was the year Adam Schiff won against Steve Garvey. The Republican, Steve Garvey, was distancing himself from Trump. That's no longer the case in 2026 in California, which goes back to kind of what we were mentioning. It's like, I'm very pleased about that. I think that's a very good development for California. the unions didn't endorse in the primary in that race. So nobody consolidated around any of the Democrats except for kind of Adam Schiff, and he was able to make it through past all of these people. And since then, nobody's really heard of Katie Porter until she decided she's going to run for governor. But as you've said, she has, like, it seems like she has a personality disorder, and she's not well liked, and also she's very progressive. So the moderates are not going to choose her, and the operatives in the party don't like her, so nobody wants her. And then there's Tom Steyer. So Tom Steyer is a very interesting candidate because he also ran for president in the past. He's a billionaire. He has spent over $100 million. I think now it's like up to $130-something million, which explains his placement in the polls. Because as you've said, nobody knows who this guy is. He is running tons of ads, millions and millions in ad buys. His commercials are pretty good, actually. I've seen a few. So people are getting bamboozled because they don't really know enough about him. And what we know about him is that he's one of these like very wealthy billionaires who's also a communist. It's like an internal contradiction. And, it doesn't matter if he, runs on these policies that don't work, like free college tuition and public housing, I have a whole list that I just posted the other day.
He wants to arrest ICE agents.
ICE agents, yeah. He's going after, and he did that he does that in debates as well. He is probably the most hardcore candidate against ICE. He wants to abolish ICE, even though he made his money owning ICE detention facilities. It's just absolutely crazy that. And people don't know this. He is a climate fanatic, which is one of the reasons why
so he's a and a prison impresario.
Yeah.
Those two things just naturally go together, right?
Nothing about him makes sense. And we've kind of been ignoring him because despite having all this money that he's spending, he wasn't really going anywhere in the polls. But because the field is so weak and because people are so attracted to money, because you need California is a very big state, most populous state in the nation, you need money in order to win. So he's attracting people now because of that.
So do you think the party will coalesce around him? Like he'll be
that would be absolutely wild if that happens, but you can't put a bad strategy past the Democrats. This happened before. He's even further to the left of Gavin Newsom by a long shot, by a lot. And what we know in California is that people think that we're moving in the wrong direction. A majority of California voters think that we're moving in the wrong direction. So why would you vote for someone who is going even further in the wrong direction? I think that has a lot to do with like a mismatch in information. Like I was in a little tiny debate on X with a very left, Tom Steyer supporter whose handle was something about like, clean earth, like something like environmental related, which I want the earth to be a happy, healthy, place. And I grew up on reduce, reuse, recycle, and we have to protect the environment. I believe all of that too. But what I said to him was, can you explain to me, because Tom Steyer wants to go all green energy and move away from fossil fuels. I was like, can you explain to me why it's a good thing that we've closed all the gas refineries in California, oil refineries in California, and instead we are importing our oil on tankers that have to go halfway across the world and pollute the air and the ocean to get here. And he's like, well, I'm not aware of that happening, but if it is, that's terrible. Like, I wouldn't support that at all. I'm like, okay. And I was about to respond and he deleted it. So what I expect happened is that he went and Googled what I just told him and he saw that it was true and that he didn't want to get into a debate with me.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing that it's like these people who feel so passionately about supporting a candidate like Tom Steyer because they think that he's good.
He's for good.
He's for good, the virtue, and things that we all agree about, like we shouldn't be polluting the earth unnecessarily. But they end up supporting policies that are completely counterproductive to their stated goal. And that's just one example of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a scenario for you. I'm wondering, what is the key demographic in California to swing this election to the right? Is it like, if it's women? I have a friend that I see at the gym who's like a Santa Monica dad who does quite well. He's like a low-key Trump voter.
Okay.
He's not really into politics, but he's a Trump supporter. And his wife is a liberal.
Yeah.
And they have this ongoing...
I feel really bad for marriages like that.
Yeah, they have like an ongoing kind of battle. And I feel like she could be a bellwether. I told him, if you can convince your wife to vote for Steve Hilton and for Spencer Pratt in the mayoral election, they'll win, because that's the key, like, floating demographic.
It's one of them.
So is that, two questions. What are the floating demographics? And then what are like the easy ways for low information voters? I meet so many low information people.
It's overwhelming. I don't judge them for it.
Against Tom Steyer and Katie Porter. What are like the 2 points that someone can make to like turn an uninformed, like, Santa Monica mother away from voting for these people?
Do you like what Santa Monica looks like right now?
I
mean, you have to like
to be assaulted.
Assaulted in the parking lot. Every stairwell smells like urine. The public housing that's embedded in the businesses and the communities are attracting rats, which is spreading disease and causing the restaurants around them to fail public health inspections and close. Like, that's what's happening in Santa Monica. The rents are rising. Everything that they say they want to achieve, the opposite is being achieved by the people that they have been voting for. So the results are the thing that is supposed to wake them up. The issue is they don't understand how the two things are connected. They're just like, if I vote left harder, then we'll get there. But that is not, we've had 16 years of one party Democrat supermajority rule in California. And the results are highest taxes, highest homelessness, highest home prices, worst schools. No, the kids can't read or count. And, the list goes on and on, and highest energy costs, highest gas prices, it goes on and on and on. And the solutions that the left is offering, even though they talk about how these are problems, the solutions that they're offering are the same things that they've been doing or worse. So abolishing ICE is what's taking the criminals off the streets that the state the authorities have released back into the community. ICE is the only thing that's keeping us safe from what they've done. So that's the message. The message is, how much longer are you going to give them a chance? How many failed? That's 2 terms. 16 years is 2 governors. How many you're going to give them a third chance?
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
What more would you like to see?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
And what are the key demographics? Like, who's going to decide this election?
Okay. So California has a very large elderly population who votes. Like, I think almost 50% of our electorate is over the age of 65. Very important. Below that, the younger you get, the turnout rate falls. So you want to focus on the older ages, people who have kids in the schools, who know firsthand how horrible it is, who know firsthand the teachers union has completely strangled LAUSD with like threats of strikes, and I think they going to go on strike, then they weren't going to go on strike. Like, it keeps the parents in limbo. And when you explain to them, those guys endorsed Tom Steyer, like, they're like, wait a second, why are teachers, I thought teachers were about education, why aren't they working on school board races? You're telling me that the reason that they've endorsed him is because he's against school choice, because school choice keeps kids trapped in these public school situations, keeps them in these failing schools, doesn't allow for competition outside of the public school system, which only empowers the teachers because they get funding based on enrollment, which has been falling because the schools suck. So instead of focusing on making the schools better and focusing on academic achievement to attract the students back, they are just figuring out ways to eliminate the competition and keep the kids in the schools. So that's an example. You go issue based, and I think that, so we have a very large Hispanic population, obviously, and President Trump moved somewhere between 9 and 12 counties, I forget what the final number is, to the right of Hispanic majority counties. Don't quote me on this statistic. I may be off slightly, but point is, President Trump is a force for moving voters to the right. Now, the main issue is not that. The main issue is not really the issues. The main issue is turnout among Republicans and Trump voters. The Democrats have this well-oiled machine to get the ballots in the box, and we don't. So that's another key to this, is like, okay, even people that you can't convince, like your friend's wife, or you haven't convinced yet, I would actually be more focused on making sure your friend votes and votes all the way down ballot. Because if he's a Trump supporter, these races, President Trump's not on the ballot. These races may not even be on his radar.
Yeah. And now moving to the LA mayoral race.
Yeah.
So we have Spencer Pratt, Nithya Raman, and Karen Bass are basically like the three contenders. Is that correct?
There's many more people running. There's also like one even further to the left of Raman. She's the DSA favored candidate, even though she didn't get the endorsement. So there are more candidates, but I would say those are the top three. Yeah.
And that primary in June, is that if you have 50 plus percent, then you win and that's it?
Correct.
And right now, I think I saw a post that you made, the leading candidate is undecided.
Yes,
it's basically undecided people.
Right.
So are you supporting Spencer Pratt?
Yes.
And how is this, what needs to happen for him to win? Like what's going to happen here in your view?
Okay, what's going to happen? Well, even though lots of places in California moved to the right, the city of Los Angeles moved to the left. And it's important for people to understand the numbers that we're talking about. So there's a little over 2 million voters in the city of LA. That's it. That's a small number. And then, because it's the primary or the spring election that, as you've said, a lot of people don't even know it's happening, that turnout is typically lower. So you can maybe expect about 1 million votes. So that means if somebody gets over 500,000 votes in this huge city, second biggest city in LA, they can win right now. So the key is getting the turnout. And there's a lot of people that are paying attention to the mayor's race because it's a high profile race. And the same thing happened in 2022 with Rick Caruso, where people got into the voting booth and they asked me afterwards, Rick Caruso wasn't on my ballot. Like, they made a mistake. And I was like, well, where do you live? And they're like, Santa Monica. It's like, well, you don't live in the city of LA.
Yeah.
So actually the voters in the race are few. Bass she's obviously going to be favored, even though she's a very weak candidate, because she's the incumbent and she's worked herself into the establishment. So Joe Biden, campaigned for her the first time around. Obama, like I know.
Terrible.
Gavin Newsom is supporting her this time around. So she's got, the support basically of the establishment to hold the seat, even though she is, by all measure, a failed mayor.
Why is Nithya running against her?
Okay, you have to kind of understand what happened since the day of the fires. Rick Caruso should have declared that he is going to run for mayor on January 8th, and he didn't. Instead, he had two teams vetting whether he should run for governor or whether he should run for mayor again. And he held everybody in Los Angeles in limbo who wanted to run to the right of her, or wanted to challenge her. Because if he was going to do it, and he has the money, the name recognition, and the experience now, because it would be his second time to do it. And he was also, his face was on TV every second because of, his connection to the Palisades. He had 2 homes burned down, and he saved the village. And so that was like, he was in the news a lot. And then, so he didn't make a decision for 1 year, froze the field, made it impossible for anyone to come in and challenge him and challenge her, and then decided that he's not going to run. So now it left the question with very little time, by the way, to file. So once he made that decision, and Spencer, I didn't confirm this with him, but I imagine what happened is Spencer got word that Caruso's not going to run. And so Spencer's like, okay, I'm the second most high profile person that's been exposing, stuff with the fires. I don't know if you remember, he was invited to Washington, D.C., for the committees that were investigating what happened with the fires and stuff like that, and the fire aid money. And so he was involved in all of that. And he was high profile about it. And he also lost a home, his home in the Palisades fire. So, and I don't mean to overly focus on the Palisades fire. There was also the Altadena fire, and people died in that fire as well, and a lot of people lost their homes as well. I don't mean to dismiss it, but that's not part of the city of LA. So when it comes to this discussion about the fires, that's why we focus on the Palisades. So, so I think Spencer found out Caruso's not running, so Spencer declared he's going to run. And to my very pleasant surprise, the establishment in Los Angeles County flocked to him. And he has a great campaign manager. He has real people raising money for him. He has a real campaign. I wasn't sure if this was a real campaign at first. I had to see it for myself, and I satisfied myself that it is. Okay, but he started late, thanks to Rick Caruso. So that's a major disadvantage that he has to overcome, which he's doing his best. There's nothing, I have no notes for Spencer Pratt about what he should be doing differently. He's doing everything that I would do. Now, this leaves to a Democrat operative minded person, they don't take Spencer Pratt seriously. So to them, this was a race for the taking, if you could challenge her from the left. So also, they had their own issue where there was rumors that Supervisor Lindsay Horvath was planning to run to challenge Karen Bass. I think she rented an apartment in the city of LA to be able to do that. She waited until the last minute also to decide that she's not going to do that, which I think is a smart move, because supervisor of LA County is actually a much more powerful position than mayor of the city of LA. So she stayed there. And so within a day, which was, at 10 o'clock in the morning before the noon filing deadline, Nithya Raman filed. And I think it was just let's look around. They're all standing there looking at each other. Who's going to do it? And she does it. And this is actually to her credit, this is where she shines because she's not well known. She runs, a very underground campaign of ballot harvesting, and she won her city council seat by challenging a city councilman, a Democrat city councilman who was embroiled in scandal and controversy and not well liked, and they went head to head, and she won, and then she won re-election kind of the same way. Underground, ground game campaign, ballot harvesting, and she won by less than 1%. She won re-election. So she may know that, she's not going to make it for re-election next time around. So this was her opportunity for a stepping stone. But she's dangerous. She just voted against enforcing the encampment ban in Los Angeles. Do you know it's against the law to have to camp out on the street in the city of LA? But the city council member of the district has discretion whether to enforce the law or not, which is bonkers.
It's outrageous.
Yeah,
like I can't even. It's I'm confronted with it daily.
Most people are.
It's so, yeah. All of these people on the left have just completely abandoned their responsibility of being, they're supposed to be public servants.
Yeah.
Like guaranteed
it's
safety.
It's unsafe for the homeless people who are there. They're full of disease. The women are getting sexually assaulted. There's prostitution. There's drug use. There's mental illness. They're not getting treatment for any of that. They're just living in their own filth, and that filth is spreading to the rest of the city. And then they're mentally ill, and so they're causing all kinds of other problems. Lots of crime, violence. Like this is a huge issue for Los Angeles, and it has been for many years.
Yeah. I feel like we have Stockholm syndrome here, that it's like it's become normalized. Like I was walking my dog the other day. There was a guy in the middle of the street with a giant knife.
Oh my God.
Just standing there mumbling to himself. And I just walked by, like I didn't even really think about it. And then I was like, oh, that guy could kill me. Yeah. Like this is how people get killed by a knife wielding lunatic. But it's just become it's completely normalized. It's something to put up with.
Yeah.
So it absolutely has to change. I wonder, like, if we don't win these elections this time, like, is this the last chance? It sort of feels like it. Like, what will happen to LA and California if the Democrats win?
It will get worse. It will get worse. There's no we will enter a death spiral because the coming after the businesses and the rich and the today the Democrat Party, it's tax day. It's April 15th, so their post today was tax the rich. They will cause a death spiral. They will cause wealth flight. The top 1% is footing most of the bill in taxpayer money. That will cause, they're already causing businesses to relocate. That's going to take jobs with them. They've already killed Hollywood in this way. Mm-hmm. And now it's happening to Silicon Valley, and it's happening to the energy industry. It's happening across all the industries. And so you enter this death spiral where people who can move away, people who can move away will. They're going to take their money and their jobs with them. And then the rest of us, who are committed to staying here, will be left trying to pick up the pieces. And so maybe we are at the bottom where people realize this, and maybe we're not. We don't know until the next election.
Yeah. And are you committed to staying here if things don't change? Have you thought about leaving?
Yeah, well, we thought about leaving. Okay. So you know how you gather with your friends and inevitably the conversation is, so where are we moving to? Or this person moved away, or some of my friends have gotten, second residences in Florida just in case. When the Jews gather, we're like, so how much longer do we got in the United States? When are we all moving to Israel? Because also we have the added issue of the growing anti-Semitism here. So those are the two conversations that I regularly have with my friends. But What happened to me was several years ago when Gavin Newsom announced the vaccine mandate, and I could see the writing on the wall, with the critical race theory in the schools, the vaccine mandate, plus like the growth of the Marxist ideology in the Democrat Party, who is in charge here. I was like, and my husband is a surgeon, so like there's also the issue of the universal privatization of Medicare and the downward pressure on reimbursement rates by insurance. So it's hard to be a doctor now when it didn't used to be, and that affects the care, the quality of care
Of course.
that everyone receives. But it was the vaccine mandate where I was in tears, was crying to my husband. I was like, we have to move. And he he's like walked me through the process of what it would be for him in his field to move to another state. He would basically have to start over. And we would be away from our family, both sides of our entire family. Our roots are here. We both grew up here. We came here as, children, and have never lived anywhere else. We've never lived outside of California once we both moved here in the 80s. So once he walked me through that process, and I realized, like, okay, we're not going anywhere. My only option was fight. So I'm here. This is why I'm fighting. I encourage other people to join me, and more people do every single day, and we welcome that, because Republicans cannot do this alone. It's going to take everybody to realize, what is going on around us, and that you need a change. And you can't achieve change by voting for the exact same party that has gotten you to this point to begin with. You have to try something new.
Yeah, we just have to win so you can stay here. That's the only option.
Yeah.
We're out of time, but Elizabeth, you're putting together a voting guide, or you have one together. Where can people find that?
So my most popular content online is actually my voter guide, which I have been doing every election for several cycles. And I post it. So on my X, it's E_Barcohana, and my Instagram is at Elizabeth from California. It's not ready yet for this cycle because we've just had our convention. So I need a few more days, but it will be up there. It will be pinned. It will be, it will be very available for anybody who needs to find it. And I also have a newsletter that you can sign up for as well at my website, elizabethbarcohana.com, where I will email it to you.
Great. So everyone should vote by mail immediately. And vote red down ballot. And that's it.
Yes. Okay. Good summary.
Great. Thanks so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Johnny. Happy to be here.